you and I are having this conversation, these are all the questions you should be having once a year with your primary care physician.
Advocate, sure.
Right? And they're going to tell you. They've got lots of ways, and really they're like the gateway to be like, okay, I might not be able to be the solution for you, but we're going to run these tests, and then we're going to get you to the medical professional that can help you for your issues. But you got to start there. You got to start somewhere, and you have to be actively involved. And the thing that you've got to start to do when you are in front of your primary care is to be a part of the conversation, ask questions.
Over the decades, wood floor businesses produced a great amount of material for the flooring industry regarding technical, business, legal, and even some health and medical. But how about digging in a little deeper? Flooring's super lucrative. It's important. It's a craft. It's a trade, and we love it. But how do we stay in it a little longer, maybe even for life? Today, our guest, Jennifer Hale, occupational therapist and hand and upper extremity specialist from Virginia and literally our U.S. capital of wood flooring, the Metro D.C. area, is going to talk with me about a magazine article that we have coming out in wood floor business in the August-September issue, where we discuss things like finding the real cause of pain in our injuries, following the physical chain that has to be broken down in order to achieve recovery, the critical importance of hydration and nutrition, and how to age well as a floor pro. We posted a magazine article in that section called Wood Floor Pros and What Ails Them. We got amazing response from people online and around the world. So now we have some real life feedback and advice. So today, sharper than your scraper blades, and you know what I mean, our next guest, All Things Wood Floor, welcomes our new health and wellness pro, Jennifer Hale, occupational therapist. So wood floor pros around the world, let's get to it. Jennifer Hale, occupational therapist. Welcome to All Things Wood Floor.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Jen, you come with a lot of little titles. If I get this right, OTR/LCHT, what are those?
That is an occupational therapist, registered and licensed, and a certified hand therapist.
So, I think back in the day when Nomar played shortstop for the Red Sox, that was your thing, right? Like, he had a hand injury. They're like, he's coming to my place.
Yes, he did make a pit stop down at UVA to have his wrist looked at from one of our orthopedic surgeons. I'm not sure if he actually had surgery there, but yes, he did come for an opinion.
And I know your family's bounced around with the Air Force, with your father being in the military, but you went to University of New Hampshire, so you're back here in the Shire, but the family lives in we call it the Metro D.C. area, but you're in Virginia, right?
Yes, Northern Virginia.
So you and I recently did a pretty extensive article on health in flooring. We had this idea about people look at a lot of legal aspects of flooring, and my customers are all flooring people. And you and I had talked about, boy, do they look after their health? And I said, surprisingly, they do. And you said, boy, we could get a team of people together, which I really only needed you. Tell me about when we started to talk about this. Well, give me a little bit about injuries and how it relates to ergonomics and like being an occupational therapist. Explain what that is that you're looking for and that you do.
All right. Yeah. So occupational therapy is, one of the team members of physical therapy, speech, surgeons, orthopedic physicians, basically the health and wellness community. And we're a little less known. And what occupational therapy is we kind of have a slightly broader scope of practice when helping people heal from injuries or trauma in their lives. And so we, definitely work with and overlap with physical therapists in the orthopedic injury world. But we also work with the working industry. Occupation doesn't necessarily mean what is your job. It means how do you function? And we work on all aspects of how to make you successfully function well in your personal life, in your work life, in your school life, whatever it is you fill your day with is your occupation. And we work on helping people have successful, healthy lives.
Well, we discussed this. I sent you a video of someone edging a floor. You said, well, what do the people do so I know specifically? I said, well, besides nailing and hammering and lifting, it's using big machine sanders and edgers and things. I sent you a video of each of those things. From what you looked at, we were talking about how do you find the real causes of people's, let's see, injuries, aggravations. You made a note to talk about a few things and tell me how they pertain to this. You mentioned posture, strength, people's foundation, and body strain. What does that all mean when you saw those videos of how hardwood flooring people do their job?
Well, I mean, when we as occupational therapists approach looking at anybody's function, whether it's to swing a golf club, play volleyball, swim in a pool, swing a hammer, lift a box, work with different heavy equipment, we're looking at how the environment and how that piece of equipment affects their body and their function. And we want to make sure that people are using equipment and their environment in a way that doesn't cause stress or harm or strain. Sometimes, like when I work with my professional athletes, or we do a lot with performing arts and musicians, and I'm certainly not going to tell them how to play their instrument, right. But I am going to help them maybe position their body in a way that would cause less strain. Or if there is no perfect way, then we look at making sure we take breaks. We stretch before and after. We might just do maybe some sort of cushioning or application, or add something to their piece of equipment so that we can get them in a position that doesn't cause strain or injury to their body.
You mentioned things about breaking the cycle when we're talking about injuries. Is there a cycle, like when you see patients, do you kind of break it down and go, they come in and they go, hey, I'm injured, look at me. You must say, well, can we break this down? What did you do to get to this state? And do you find some people are just in a cycle? They're doing things so repetitively that it's bringing about these injuries?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we do a wide scope of evaluation. We might sit them down in their area. We might try to simulate what it is they're doing in the clinics that we work in. We might have them bring in pictures of the areas that they're working in, or the pieces of equipment that they're working with. There's several ways that we evaluate them, but we also kind of look at just what their routine is, like what is their habit, like who are they. Sometimes it's not just that one activity that they're performing, like, oh, I sand floors all day and I think this is what injured me. And I get a lot of clients who they might sand floors all day, but they're like, oh, and when I'm not sanding floors, I crouch down and garden or do some sort of artistic activity that puts them in the same position.
The job is repeating some
yes.
nonsense.
Yes. I mean, one of my favorites was I had a gentleman who was a professional pianist by day. He also was a journalist, and he then liked to, he was building a fence around his yard. And all three of those things, uses his hands, his wrist, his upper extremities all day, every day. And I was like, you're not giving your body a break. So sometimes it's just figuring out what is the whole picture of the person. What are other things that you're doing besides your job that could be contributing to the stress and strain of your injury.
Well, you evaluate like anybody in the industry. If you get a bunch of floor pros together, you should hear them. They'll look right at another guy. It could be just one floor of the year and go, "That's how you edge a floor." But like I remember we visited you. You were looking at me and you go, "That's how you hold a mouse?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I had terrible shoulder and arm pain. Well, that shoulder pain's probably coming from that mouse.
Right.
And it's you must drive you crazy when you see people, their desk is way too high or their desk is way too low or they're using equipment in the wrong way. When you're looking at these things, because it's an occupational hazard, are you looking at components like exercise, stretching, and preparing? Is that what they do? You say, listen, you're going to have to exercise, stretch, and prepare before you just go and show up at work. Like you had said to me, don't go run a marathon. You just go out and run a marathon. You've got to think about it and strategy. Same with workplace, like in hardwood flooring. What do you tell people about things like exercise and stretching and preparing for the work they're about to do?
Well, I think everybody just thinks of their job or, hey, I want to get this project done around the house, or, the lawn needs to be mowed. And we don't ever really think about how much we put our body in that activity or a certain position while we're doing that activity or while we're doing that job. And before you know it, you've sat there or you've been working on a project for 6, 7, 8 hours and you've done it 3 days in a row. That's not good for anybody's body. And no matter what, physical condition you're in. And so we kind of just remind us all, because we all lose track of time, that you have to take breaks. You've got to take breaks. You got to get up. We like to call them movement breaks. Okay. You got to get up. You got to stretch. You got to walk away from that position. You got to, get something to drink. Just take a break in the sense that you need to change positions and move your body and get out of that stressful position that could be causing strain.
Well, you and I talked about the original portion from the start of the magazine article to how we're talking today about, okay, let's find the real cause of what's going on. And in most cases, you had explained to me, let's say it's an elbow problem or it's a shoulder problem, etc. You said it, I've heard physical therapists, occupational therapists, other people, when I've gone in for my knee work and they say, boy, you really have to follow the chain. And I love this. Explain that to me when you're talking about let's follow the chain of what's happening here. Explain that.
Well, our human body is set up where your skin, your muscles, your nerves, your tissues connect all throughout your body, right? Your bones. And you can't approach an injury and just say it's the lower back and nothing else. You can't say it's the knee and nothing else. And you really have to look at each person, because each person is an individual in the sense of how they're anatomically proportioned as well as how they use their body. And you've got to look at, all their whole body, really. And you also have to kind of look at how they take care of their body. And so we often, as physical therapists and occupational therapists, will look at, all right, I'm looking at an ankle today, but how's their knees working? How are their hips working? How do they posture themselves? How do they use their back? How do they move? And that's when we're looking up and down the chain, as you would say. The chain in this sense is, one body part connects to the other, and you can't only look at one link.
Well, it's funny. I've been in Victoria's Secrets at Christmas time, and someone say, "Can I help you?" And I'm looking at the hardwood flooring. You know me. I've been at Cape Cod. I've been to Wyoming, and I'm in the middle of the desert. And they're going, "Look, there's a hardwood floor over here." I've noticed it's the same with you or a therapist, etc. Where you'll be looking at something and you go, "Oh, what's the matter? Look how that person is walking. Do they know that?
Yes.
Do they know how they're walking? It's an occupational hazard, right? You've looked at me and go, good God, what did you do to your ankle? I go, nothing. You go, well, your shoulder's out because it's a whole thing. So when you discuss that change, but an occupational therapist is most of your day is okay. Have you already, these people have come in, they're injured and you're trying to get them back to work, or is you're just reverse engineering, let's get you healthy before we even get you back to work or to surgery?
It's definitely a little bit of both. But again, I mean, we're focused on what the exact injury is and what is the job that we need to get them back to. And then that is a big focus. But we always look at a more holistic approach.
Well, yeah, we more holistically and more thoroughly, I was kind of looking at the differences between OTs and PTs, et cetera. And one of the things is, just like my customers that say, I bought this floor, it was junk. What? Or the guy that did my floor is an idiot. Well, wait a minute. It's like when people come to you and they go, yeah, I'm injured. That's kind of a blanket statement. I mean, and I think with the internet, it can't be helping anybody. But your patients typically, especially the new ones, they come in, is that the whole focus? What do you think? Look at that. It's pretty bad, doesn't it? They're pointing at my knee, right? That's what it is.
Well, again, like people, as much as they might tout that we, are perfect human beings and we take good care of each other. Sure. I mean, I think we all lie to our dentists too. How much do you floss, right?
All the time.
Right. So, I mean, it's a little bit of, you can look on the internet and you can get information anywhere these days. And you can Google your ailments and come up with a diagnosis and figure out what you have. And the point is sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And you know what? If you're not feeling well and you've had this issue for, more than a couple weeks, you should have somebody look at it.
Yeah, geez, you think?
Yeah.
Well, we from the magazine article. So when people go and they look at the electronic version of Wood Floor Business Magazine or the up-and-coming printed issue, where you and I did this whole breakdown, one of the things I thought that was cool is we went online and we picked up Dave Sharpton, Tom Murata, Jessica Peterson, TJ Haas, Clinton Duff, Matt Garcia, Tim Garnham, Cash Pyle. I've probably done podcasts with 90% of these people. I'll tell you, they're some of the best around the country. And I was like, this is so good that we got 6, 7, 8, 9 people. But Kim from Wood Floor Magazine put some more back out. It's like 99% turnout. So
right.
Do people talk about, well, I do flooring or whatever, and you go, anybody got an injury they want to talk about? All hands go up. Everybody's got a story. So what you and I are going to do, we went back through the people that followed up that and said, I want to talk about stuff. And we got some people here that have won Floor of the Year more than once. These are some very bright people they're craftsmen. That's the other thing. They are craftsmen, right. And they're trying to not just work hard and get paid. They're extending their craftsmanship for the life. No craftsman wants to retire from playing a guitar or painting or even doing woodworking. So what you and I did was we found some other things online that we really focused in on. I'm going to throw them at you. And what you did online was you addressed what people had to say and we printed it. But these people came after the fact. I'm going to give you my favorite ones and you just tell me how you would think and deal with these people. First one was Lenny Hall. The gentleman is famous. I'm so happy that he jumped in online. And his response when we were asked, what do you do to take care of yourself in this section? He said, he bike for cardio and leg strength. He stretches before every activity. And he says he does core work 3 times a week for both the bike and his work to avoid back pain. So that would be my question. It seems to me here the end result is he has back pain. That's the issue. What is that chain, and how do you type of reverse that for us? What would you tell Lenny is a good way to kind of break that down? And what's he doing right? What else could he do? And what is this? What do you think back pain is coming from, in general?
Well, I mean, again, back pain can come from several things, but the popular one is usually when somebody has lower back pain, it's in their lower lumbar, the lower part of their back. And that's the part of our spine that probably takes 80% of our weight, right? So when we're in perfect alignment, plumb line alignment, you guys align floors, you know when that floor is laid straight, it is
Right,
straight,
it's your plumb
right?
line. Yeah, that's true.
And it can hold anything, right? Well, when your spine is in perfect alignment, it really does its job well, right? But when you just shift it forward like a hinge,
Yes.
it then takes that 80% of your weight and probably maximizes it 2 and 3 times over. Then you add some heavy piece of equipment or a box, or sometimes it can be something light that you bend over and pick up off the floor. But that you do that multiple times where you're taking and putting undue forces on your lower back, you're going to cause back pain and strain and stress. And doing that over a period of your life over and over again, you're going to create damage. And that's usually the cause for back pain.
And he's doing obviously the bike and the cardio is good health and fitness anyway. Stretching is obviously good. We get that a lot. What do people mean when they say, you got to work on your core? Like,
right.
Some people don't know what you're talking about. What do you work on core?
Absolutely. So the core is your lower core is made up of bony structures, is your hip and your lower spine, right? The muscles that support, protect, can control your hips and your lower spine are, just to keep it simple, not an anatomy class here.
Right.
Your stomach muscles, your hip muscles, your butt muscles, and some of your back muscles. But all of those muscles work together to move, but also stabilize and support your hips and your spine. So a lot of times when, to really engage those muscles in unison and to work together, you've got to do core strengthening. And that's getting a nice co-contraction through your butt muscles and your tummy muscles and getting you to stabilize while you're moving your hips and your legs and your back.
So I remember you kind of read through some of them and you said, Lenny, I like this. He's doing the right thing. So it sounds like he's doing the right thing.
He is. He's doing great.
I was blown away. I know a lot of really bright flooring people. You think, these are hardworking people to get their hands dirty. They're out there. Some of the brightest people I've ever listened to. The answers we got online, people are in tune. They knew that they know how to take care of themselves. Pat Goodman, who posted to Kim's response on the article, this was interesting. He said his issue was hip flexor stability. So he works on hip flexor and core strength, basic stretching, and most of the exercises, he said, are calisthenic, low resistance, body weight based. That's the first part of the question. So when he brings up hip flex. Well, let's start with a couple. What exactly is a hip flexor?
So the hip flexor is the muscle that kind of is on the front of your hips. So like connecting from your abdomen to the front part of your upper leg, right?
Okay.
Keep it simple.
Yep.
And what does it do? It lifts your leg up and kicks forward. It flexes your hip to 90 degrees, is the basic function of that muscle, right? And so it's your marching muscle, your walking muscle, your kicking muscle, things that you do for that. And so that's always good. You want to keep your hip flexors strong. A lot of times your hip flexors, though, are not that they're not strong, it's they're tight.
Oh.
And so you're not getting that balance between the muscles that work the front of your hip and your legs versus the muscles that work the back of your legs. But also what people don't kind of think about is that we do more than kick forward, walk forward, but and squat and stand. those lateral movements, those side to side movements, kicking out to the side, moving from the side, moving backwards, like those are all important movements that our hips do. Like, so we see this in our tennis players all the time. They move side to side, right? And those are what we call your abductors and, your abductors, the muscles that move your legs in and out. And they play such an important role, just as much as your hip flexors and your glutes do. And so a lot of times when people have problems, they really need to start working all of those muscles I just spoke of, right, to really keep their back and their hips strong and healthy.
Yeah, so any hardwood flooring person, especially if they're doing edger work, as you saw, going side to side, laterally, constantly, on your knee, either on a knee, off a knee. You had mentioned too, there are a lot of guys that we squat like a baseball catcher, and other people, like when I got older, I started going down on one knee. There's a name for that, right? If you're working but you're on one knee.
Yeah, one knee and then your other. We call it a split kneel.
Split kneel.
Right. So I don't know how else to explain that.
No, that's good because we would just say, I work on my knee. No, I'm doing the split kneel.
Right.
It sounds like an Olympic term, like if I did it, like a hamel camel or a split, what. So then what Pat Goodman goes into is, I kind of like this because we talked about this. He says, my exercises are basically calisthenic. Or we were saying every movie about the military, at 5 a.m. reveille, get out and do calisthenics. Push-ups and jumping jacks and sit-ups. I mean, he is talking about that, right, when his calisthenic work. Well, if he comes to you and says, yeah, I'm doing calisthenics, what's that say in your mind he's probably up to?
Well, we would break it down. We'd ask them, like, okay, tell me about your calisthenic routine. Is it jumping jacks? Is it running? Is it jump rope? Or, and then you get a little more information about what type of exercise they do.
Like, what does he mean? Because he did follow up and he said it's low resistant, body weight based. Is he saying, like, I'm working on isometrics, I'm not using weights and is that what he's trying to say?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of times calisthenics are, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, right? Typical military style workout, which those are all great things. Those are all working your core, and low resistance, when you use your body weight, that can be a great form of exercise. You don't have to have a lot of fancy equipment. So we would just be making sure that, he's using good form, good technique, and maybe supplement some of his exercises where we know that he's got some problem areas. So
his final part, he mentions, he says, I also use Fit Coach, an app that organizes. He feels like it keeps his workouts organized and helps him to repeat them more often. What about apps? I'm sure there's a million, but like, what are the different types of apps out there that people use?
There's a ton of apps that help people stay on track, right? Or keep yourself honest, right? And, there's everything from counting your steps to counting your calories to, logging in your activity. There's also a lot of what we call body devices that help track all of that for you, from your Apple Watch to your
Garmin, your Fitbit.
Name it, Fitbit.
You say keeping it honest. I know people that have said they threw it on their dog, they threw it in the dryer, put it on their bicycle.
But I think they're all great, and I think they're all helpful. And that technology just keeps getting better and better, where they can give you that information, more detailed information about your heart rate, about your oxygen stats, about your steps, your sleep patterns, and your, what we like to say in the industry, sleep hygiene. I think they're all wonderful. I personally use one and absolutely love it. I use the Oura Ring. That one probably is the one.
That's cool. That's just like a ring, like a piece of jewelry. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but it basically tracks everything. and it's all in one place, and it, connects to your phone, and you just use their app to really stay on top of everything that you're doing.
So the next one we picked out was Eric Pillier, or Pillier, I'm not sure. Sorry, buddy. And he mentions mountain biking. And then there's also Stephen Lee and Benny Powell and a lot of others that just throw a list out there, and they say snowboarding, they do biking, they do skateboarding, hunting, fishing. Yard work came up, gardening, and even somebody said vacationing. So a lot of people are talking about their activities, and not all of them are fully physical purpose. A lot of them talk about taking a mental break. So there must be a psychology or psychological aspect to body mechanics as far as rest and recovery.
Absolutely. It's so important to have work-life balance. And when you're looking at trying to fit it all in, and choose things that create good, healthy physical habits, good sleep habits, good stress reduction habits, and even just how healthy it is to be with your loved ones and your friends and your family. I mean, that's important for your mind and your soul, right? And you need to fill up your cup.
Yes, very wise words.
Right. So
you mean like King Cone, like large ice cream, small baby ice cream, twist, no twist, Jimmy's
I don't know. Do these listeners know what King Cone is?
Everybody knows what King Cone is.
But yeah, so I love to hear about people choosing activities that encompass meeting all of those needs, right? It's fun. It is a good stress reliever. You're getting good exercise and activity. You're getting out into the fresh air, and that is proven to be more healthy than. Not that going to the gym is wrong, but not everybody loves to go to the gym and wants to go there. And so guess what? You don't have to. To be healthy, you can go work out in the garden and go mow the lawn or go fishing. I've recently picked up learning how to ride a horse, and that's a fabulous workout. By the time you get the horse ready and you ride the horse and then you get the horse ready to go back to the field, it's a 4-hour workout.
Rub them down, wipe the sweat off them, feed them, thank them, hope they don't throw you.
I absolutely love it, and it not only feeds my mind and soul, it gives me good exercise too.
Well, I would think, okay, that it's geographical. You hear about this all the time. Someone will say, well, my uncle smoked until he was 58 and he died. And they go, wow, cigarettes. No, I get hit by a bus. But there's this geography, right? Aren't there zones where they can say, this part of a region of a country or a world, it seems to be for some reason healthier or taller or whatever. What is that about?
Yeah. What you're talking about is there's a lot of studies, a lot of great studies, and a lot of information on what they call the blue zones. And you can watch a Netflix a series on it, and I highly recommend it. It's great.
Cool.
But it gives kind of what we're talking about today, and what just a little synopsis on what the blue zones and what all of the people that are researching that are working on is they're understanding why is there some parts of the world or some cultures that easily get to 100 in age and are perfectly healthy and well, and they're not depressed, and they're just living much healthier lives, happier lives. And it's like, what's the secret, right?
Right.
And what they're finding is that it's not a lot of surprise. It's really going back to eating healthy foods, things that aren't full of preservatives and processed foods and packaged foods, and that they walk everywhere, and they get together with family and friends, and they make that a priority. And they do things like work out, they garden, they do everyday activities. They don't, leave it for somebody else to do.
Sure.
And that keeps them active, that keeps them moving. And it's a way of life that we all kind of have to readopt.
Right.
You know, I think life is so fast, and we have electronics and things that, and people and that do everything and do everything for us.
Of course, yep.
Right. And so, you know, we spend way too much on our phones and the computer.
Yeah.
And it's definitely affecting our health.
One of my favorites, you're going to have to break this one down for me. And I got to find this person because it's Boston Flores Sanders. And it should be somewhere near me. He says he's 64 going on 35, and he still believes that at 64, got at least about 5 solid, really good productive years working in the field. But you're going to break this down for me, because I've told you there's a language in business. My wife was in the medical field, 13 years of me listening to that language and helping her study. I love listening to the language of what people do. I wrote an article called Floor Language. We've talked about this.
Yes.
You know my speech. We got the Prego with the prefab latex with the, a pro would go, what is that person talking about? And then you listen to people in the law profession, et cetera. I need your floor language, your speak to break this down for me. Boston Flores, he wrote not only about his age, but he put, quote, I do a bit of cycling and some kettlebell work, especially squats and Romanian deadlift. Diet helps me too. Low carb and sometimes keto carnivore, and that makes my aches and body pains go away. All right, back up. What's a kettlebell?
You know what a kettlebell is.
Yeah, because you told me an hour ago, but I said, Jen, I don't know, it's stupid, but what is it? Is it the big lead ball with a little handle? And sometimes they have colors and they're rubber covered.
Yes, absolutely. It's another fun way to lift heavy things up and put them down.
Put them down. My website says I lift my pen and I put it down. I think things up, I write them down. So when he says he's doing that, but then I was like, does that go hand in hand with a Romanian deadlift? Is that a name for a type of?
It's just another way to do.
I like it. Does sound
exercise.
pretty badass.
Yeah,
right? It's not like I went to the gym, I did some curls. Romanian deadlift with kettlebells.
But I think what in that particular person's comments is he's talking about his nutrition, and he's talking about a keto diet versus what did he say?
Keto carnivore.
Keto carnivore, right.
Proteins.
So those are all fancy terms where you're increasing your amount of protein. And usually the easiest way to get protein is through meats, carnivore, right? But there are a lot of other plant-based proteins and ways to get protein in your diet. But he's going heavier on his proteins. And what else did he say there?
Well, he said in lowering the carbs, he says it's working. His goal was to take away aches and pains, and he says working.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, and because with all of those diets, and, sometimes you can be very extreme with keto diets, and you have to be careful because an extreme of any kind is never a good thing. But I think the American diet is just way too heavy because, again, we have it everywhere. There's sugar and carbs, and, I know what everybody knows what a sugar and a carb is.
That's coming up.
But, it's way more in all of our food, our salad dressings, our yogurts, our things when you think you're eating healthy. It's not just bread and pasta. So you have to be more mindful of the amount of carbs and sugar that you're getting. I mean, carbs and sugar do play a role in our body chemistry and how we function. Our muscles and our brain does need carbs and sugar to function well, but there's not a balance there. And again, we're seeing that we as a society eat way too much of carbs and sugar, and it is causing weight gain and high blood pressure and glucose, diabetes, sugar problems, which all lead to heart disease and strokes. And so you have to be more mindful of limiting those to stay healthy.
And this reader is explaining One, they figured out what their problem is. They know what fixes it, and they're sticking with it.
Yeah.
Which means he's smart enough
Which is
to know
great for
next
him.
time around I see something else, I'll adjust on the fly. We have another one that I liked was Aaron Shalma. So Aaron writes, besides weight training and stretching, eats more anti-inflammatory diet and has regular blood work. This is really simple, but I like the two components. One that Aaron's mentioning, less he's eating anti-inflammatory diet. So you're going to explain that to me. And part two would be blood work, which we know is important. So explain what a basically anti-inflammatory diet might be, and what does that do for me?
Well, I mean, certainly if somebody's having inflammation issues, could be a million things that are causing that. But what we found in nutrition is that there are certain things that cause greater inflammation than others. And, obviously smoking, alcohol, too much sugar, those are all, one of the, some of the top three. So when you're doing an anti-inflammatory diet, you are trying to cut down on your amount of alcohol. Not that you have to get rid of it.
Gotcha. We don't want people jumping off a cliff here.
No. But I think the new medical standard for having alcohol is 1 glass a day for females and 2 for males. But if you can, abstain to maybe only doing 3 glasses a week, that would be even better. But you can somewhat keep yourself in a healthy range if you stick to just
Jen,
one drink a day.
No one's listening, but we're talking about hard flooring people, right? And I personally, listen, I donated my liver to science fiction. Mm-hmm. I'm a retired professional drinker. I hear exactly what you're saying. But when they do say anti-inflammatory and we talk about inflammation, what's the deal? Is inflammation, is that when you go, oh, you got inflammation? Is that what's causing all the aches and the pains? And are we talking about inflammation? We're talking about around knee joints, around joints, around what are we talking about when we say that you're inflamed?
Let me ask you this.
Yes. You think I have an answer for this?
What is inflammation?
I asked that question myself.
Right?
Yes.
But so do you know, can you really, the inflammation
swelling with fluid.
Yes, sure.
Look
That's
at me.
one part of it, right?
I went to school.
But there is, that inflammation is a normal reaction in the body. It means that your lymph system, your systems are trying to heal from something. Something has triggered inflammation, not necessarily a bad thing, but that means that your body is bringing fluid and proteins and other nutrients to an area to try to heal it, right? And there's a normal phase of inflammation. It should come. It should do what it needs to do and then go.
Gotcha.
Right? But if somebody's in kind of this constant inflammatory phase, that's the signal of something is wrong.
Okay.
Right? And that happens with arthritis, and that happens when in your gut, when you're having allergies or something going wrong with how you're digesting something. But many, many ailments start with your body signaling with inflammation. And so if you have chronic inflammation, you really need to go to the doctor and see what's going on. Okay. But it is definitely something that you don't want to have for long periods of time, because it does it puts too much stress on your body. It increases your chances for, again, the things that we're all afraid of: heart attack, stroke, cancer.
Sure. Well, what I liked about Aaron's approach to all this was that second part, because he says, and it just throws it out in regular blood work. And you think, yeah, right? You can't get insurance, go to one annual physical. The doctor tries to say, you go in, you get your physical, and he goes, see you in a year. You're like, yeah, whatever. And they go, and here's your blood work form. You can give that to me now? I'm going to lose that thing. But they want to see that blood work early before you show up for a lot of reasons. And this gentleman was talking about LDL, HDL, and cholesterol. Give me like some of the basics in the blood work that their doctors or you or anybody are looking right at. They're looking for immediately. Is it enzymes? Is it what is it that you're looking for?
Well, I mean, again, your blood work is basically the window into how is your body function.
Okay.
How are you performing? How's your liver doing? How's
You're asking me?
Your kidneys doing,
me.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your blood pressure? What is going on there? And those are normal daily tests so that we can kind of get an idea of how are you functioning. And so some of the things they look at are, yes, your cholesterol. And listen, in this day and age, I mean, I think we've been talking about cholesterol since the 70s, right? So in this day and age, if you don't know what your LDLs and your HDLs, then you need to go to the doctor. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Right?
I know my good one's the good one. I just love when people go, it's the good one. So for all those people that are going to listen to the podcast, what's the bad one and what's the good one?
All right. So HDLs are the good ones. And I like to think of it like this, simply put. They're the ones that lubricate your arteries.
Okay.
Right? So things move through there smoothly, right? Your LDLs are the ones that create plaque and clog.
They're the troublemakers.
They're the troublemakers. They're the bad ones. So again, if you have low LDLs and high HDLs, you know things are moving through your arteries pretty well.
Yes. One of the things that I've been lucky with, because I have a little high blood pressure, was LDL, HDL, and I go in and my doctor says, boy, you are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And it pisses a lot of people off. It's like the only good report card I've ever gotten since junior high school. But you know what they said? And I said, well, how come there are people in my family who are eating the same meals every day? And he said, go thank your parents. So there must be some genetic. Some people either say, "Well, my cholesterol is perfect, but I have high blood pressure," or vice versa. So a lot of it is controlled through diet and exercises. Some of it is you're kind of getting hit with genetics, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you drill down, and you can actually now test to see the cellular level of your cholesterol, and that's when you're looking at genetics. You're looking at big cells, small cells, not to get into too much detail, but you're then looking at it at a higher level to kind of look at that genetic piece. And if you have a significant issue with your numbers, a lot of times your primary care physician will do those higher level tests for cholesterol. And I personally like to ask for them anyway, so that you can just have a better sense of your numbers, because they like everybody under 200, but some people, they're just not going to be 200, and their ratio is good. They might be like 220, 230, and their ratios are good, and they don't have high blood pressure, they don't have any other things, and they're not considered a high risk.
On the third portion of this, or the last portion, was Greg Warren online had posted. This is what I really like. So Greg just simply put, I go to the gym. He didn't even say that. He just said gym. It says walk daily, bike, learn to lift no more than 25 pounds on the job. And then he states, use hand trucks, ramps, has a stretch waist belt. He says he's 72 with no chronic pain issues. That's a home run. But you hear it, right? Don't lift more. It's smart stuff. Don't lift too much. Do enough. This is OT, right? Use hand trucks, use ramps, use tools, use strength. Talk a little there, right? There's where you kind of see that OT, PT difference. Again, not one better or another, just like saying, well, I go to a chiropractor. Okay, throw that in the mix too. You're being healthy. There are tools and preparations and resources for, I think, what you said in the article. Working smart. You hear all the time, gotta work smart, not stupid. But that's what we're talking about. He's 72.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder, because you want to play the long game.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be able to do this for several years. This is your profession. This is how you get food on the table and a roof over your head, and you want to be able to maintain this job for a long time. So you got to wear the right equipment. Like I was saying to you before, you wouldn't go play professional football without all the gear on.
Some would. I've seen them.
You wouldn't last the whole game, right?
No.
So again, like approach your job like you are. I know you love this term, the industrial athlete.
Hey, don't get ahead of me. That's my favorite part.
Right.
But you did mention, you said when you said safety first.
Right.
Earplugs, eye protection.
Yeah.
You said that in the article. Lifting properly, respirators, masks. That's all the stuff from our industry.
Wear those knee pads. Put that back brace on.
You know how many guys have $500 knee pads? And I'm guilty of it too. I'm 4 hours into the job before somebody goes, "Are you gonna go to the truck and get your knee pad?"
Yes,
because you can't wait to dive into the work, and then you got a knee problem.
Right.
So Jen, let me tell you something. my favorite part. This is gonna be so great. People are gonna love you. So and listen, I know floor people from around the world. We call them floor people, floor pros, floor guys, floor gals, whoever. And I'm so excited because you said, you people are industrial athletes. And I go, whoa, what? Whoa. We should have an Olympics. And, you're right. People go to work as, let's say, an accountant or a bookkeeper or whatever, and they go, boy, I've been at a desk all day. That's not good either. Maybe I should go home and, I'll go to the gym and I'll work out. But go watch a video of somebody framing, roofing, whatever. Watch a hardwood flooring person and roofing, brick mason, tender. These are crazy jobs. When I showed you the videos of someone running an edge, and now most flooring people are 5'8", soaking wet. You see somebody like Dave Sharpton that's like 6'3" running an edger, and he's over it like a catcher, or he's on one knee. And you look at some of these people. It is athletic. You are an industrial athlete. Is that what they're saying? I love that term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say this to my clients all the time. So, would you go run a marathon tomorrow and spend 8 hours doing it without the right equipment, in flip-flops?
Right.
And do it again the next day?
Sure.
And expect to be fine. And they're like, no, Jen, that would be silly. I wouldn't do that. Well, why are you doing that at your job?
Right. That's a good impression. I thought I could do that.
Right.
Well, do that job, but you're right. That's why I think the magazine, myself, and we just kind of threw this together. We were like, wow. We have a lot of people that just can't wait to chime in on what they do. And they're smart. There's more advice from people online that say, hey, by the way, just so you know, this worked for me. Every one of them said they've been to an OT, a PT, a chiropractor, their doctor, got a physical. I think it's very, very smart that these people are protecting themselves. And I like that term industrial athlete because I played a lot of sports in my life, from tennis to soccer to golf to whatever. And I have had more physical strain, recovery time, and injuries from doing a day of flooring. Like every match, a soccer match is an hour, a football is about, let's say, 2 hours. A baseball game is only 17, 18 hours in one stretch. It's a damn game. But when you look at it, you go, these guys are working maybe 8 hours. Maybe they're lucky they have a 4-hour day. Most are working 10, 12.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to get a project done on time, or you have a client who wanted it done yesterday, and you might be short-staffed, and you're going to power through because you want to get it done.
Hey, Wood Floor Pros. This is Kim Wellgren, the longtime editor of Wood Floor Business. Do you think you have what it takes to be this year's Wood Floor Business Ultimate Wood Floor Guy or Gal? Or do you know someone who does? Every year, we recognize 2 exceptional wood flooring contractors. We profile them in the magazine, and, the best part, they win a trip to Lagler's Fly and Sand training in Germany. You can nominate yourself, a coworker, a spouse, a friend, anyone you think works hard on a wood flooring job site and does an extraordinary job. Go to woodfloorbusiness.com to find out how to enter, and remember to be as convincing as possible with your entry. Now let's get back to Stephen's conversation with occupational therapist Jennifer Hale.
Let's move on a little bit because of the next portion of what we discussed. You had brought up hydration and nutrition. And, we talked about it always seems that when people are eating on the go, one thing they do, they're definitely, they might be getting sustenance, but they're not getting proper hydration and nutrition. But I think through some of what you wrote, you expressed, listen, our muscles and our tendons and our joints to be successful need proper hydration. With a balanced diet, let's say vegetables and proteins, and what is this about feeding your muscle tendon tissue to have joint health, this like self-preservation mode that you were kind of discussing? What is this about nutrition and hydration?
Well, okay, so this is how the body works, right? If you drink a certain amount of fluid and you get the daily required amount, then you're going to circulate that fluid through your bloodstream to all of your body parts. But your body is a very smart machine, right? And if you're not hydrated, it is going to preserve your heart, your lungs, your brain, your, major organs to survive, right? To keep you in survival mode. So what suffers then? Your joint tissue, your muscle tissue, your skin. You talk about every industry and every body part, like skin and nails. If we're talking about skin and nails and hair, what do you got to do? You got to hydrate. If we're talking about a sore muscle or joints or arthritis, we need to hydrate, right? Because hydration is what improves circulation and brings nutrients to all the parts of your body. And if you are sacrificing that, you are going to start to have symptoms of dehydration. And your body, what is it? If we're stuck in the desert, how many days can we go? 3 days?
I think they say that's about it. And your body has this like self-preservation mode. Is that something like that? Then I think when we're talking about what goes back to, let's say, hydration and nutrition, how does either one of those affect inflammation? Because is sugar involved in inflammation? That's what we were talking about, right?
Yeah, there is so much material out on how much sugar is affecting so many things on how we function. And I really encourage people to start listening to podcasts and literature and reading and about that topic, because it really has a huge effect on inflammation, wound healing. When you have a cold or you're sick, your body's immune system can't work as properly if it doesn't have the right nutrients and hydrate. I mean, when you have the flu, what's the first thing they say is hydrate and
is it feed a cold, starve a fever, or starve a cold, feed a fever? I'll never get it right. But
there are some great people out there that have just dedicated their profession on, how to get more energy back, decrease your inflammation, balance out your glucose and your sugar levels to lead a happier, healthier life. And one of my favorite ones out there, because she has all of these great hacks, her name is Jessie. I hope I'm saying this now. I wrote it down.
You got me stuck on this one too.
Anyway, her books are The Glucose Goddess and The Glucose in Chowsby. I don't know. I'm so sorry.
Well, because
I'm ruining her name.
Because she gave me a bunch of really good videos, and I looked them up, and we'll post her name online because they were really good.
She has a blog. She wrote The Glucose Revolution. But here's what I like about her, because I totally have a small attention span for reading, and I like them to get to it, right? And I love it because she just gets right to it, and she has so many solutions and hacks and recipes for, making sure that you're approaching sugar in your life in a good way and helping you feel better by reducing, balancing out your glucose and reducing stress and inflammation.
And it was Jessica and Chowsby.
That's what it was,
right?
yes.
And you know why I know? And I'm going to say this. You just said it. Let's give her a little advice, okay? Because the woman's obviously a genius. As you mentioned it, listening to podcasts. I tried to find the pronunciation of her name. She jumps into every podcast guest and all, doesn't say who she is, welcome my guest,
right.
nothing. It's just, you click
But that's
it on.
what I kind of like about her. Because it's not about her. And
No.
she just gets right in. You want a solution for that? Here it is. I love that.
On it. I have this new thing in life. I promised the magazine. I'm working in brevity now because I can go on forever. But my last podcast intro, it did there about a minute. I did one. I said, guess what? 15 seconds. Boom, 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 we're rolling. But I like that because, when you're working in magazine and print like we do, print has gotten to be where people aren't going to read, even no matter how well 6,000 words or big, long books, and they want 144 characters.
Right.
And I remember listening to a podcast about a gentleman that's a writer, and they said what they loved about him is after he's done, he trims it down to just point. Get to the point, get to the point, get to the point. And I think, that's the thing about a podcast like this. People have time. If it is a little longer, jump in the car, play it once, play it twice, play part of it or another thing. And you had mentioned, again, that's where you had got heavy into sugars. And you were saying, don't forget, there's sugar in just about everything, but then there's dyes and fake sugars. And you were kind of picking on my friend because I've been trying to get rid of sugar forever, and it really is helpful.
Oh, God, we all are.
But, I'll get Monster Energy drink with, zero sugar, and you go, yeah, that zero sugar is a type of, sugar, but and how do we say we would describe this? We won't name them by name.
No, we'll just do the colors.
Pink packet,
yellow packet, blue packet, green packet.
But I like green packet. Why? Because it's stevia.
It's stevia, and it's a plant-based sugar. Yeah. So, again, seriously, start to learn about this topic and sugar, and it's not like stevia is the home run winner, but it's the best out of the bunch.
Yeah, it's more natural. So when we get back to that part of that stuff, that's when you kind of want to jump on smoking and alcohol. And you'd mentioned it earlier, but I believe what you had expressed was the problem with smoking and with alcohol is oxygen and blood flow, if I'm right. Is that where that's...
Well, yes. And again, they are one of the things that, again, contribute to inflammation and, poor circulation and having, things that your body has to process out of your bloodstream, right? And so your liver and your kidneys are always trying, you're making them work harder, right? And you only got one. You only got one liver and two kidneys, right?
I know a lot of people that have one kidney, so they're pushing it.
So be nice to them.
Yes. Be nice to the one kidney people. Well, we talked about just the simplistics of breathing, and I remember I saw a whole seminar. I don't smoke, but my mom did, and they would say, a lot of vices in life, a lot of things you when you're evaluating, let's say it's quitting drinking, quitting smoking, eating, overeating, whatever, it's disingenuous to say to yourself, oh, well, look at all the terrible things it's going to kill you. It's smart to look back and go, well, what good did it do for you? What did drinking do for you? Well, it's escapism. I get to relax. It's the only way I can unwind. With people that smoke, somebody said to me, people don't realize that those people really know how to breathe. They take long, deep inhales, and they breathe. So, yes, it's smoke, but they don't realize they're slowing their breathing down. I told you when I write a magazine article, I hold my breath from the time I start writing until I put period. And then and you mentioned that to me, and I go, oh my God, I'm not breathing. How do I not know how to breathe? People do not know how to breathe.
Well, okay. So the perfect breathing cadence is that you can take a breath in for 6 seconds and breathe out for 6 seconds. Right. And if you actually practice that...
That almost put me to sleep.
Yes, it actually levels out your blood pressure, calms you down, gets rid of your stress. But if you think about it, that is how we should be breathing naturally, right? Yep. Big, deep breath in, 6 seconds, breathe out, 6 seconds.
I study meditation. A lot of people do aerobics. Before they'll even let you in the class, they say, we're going to talk to you about
You
your
got to
breathing.
breathe, right?
And then usually it's breathe in, let's say 7 seconds through your nose, hold it for, let's say 6, but then gently exhale through your mouth, almost like you're whistling. Slow it. Take 10, 12 seconds to let it out. It really does. I know speakers that do it before they walk out on stage, or musicians. It's amazing what proper breathing will do to slow things down.
Well, it's like a reset, right? And it puts your body back in rhythm, right? And the problem is if you notice it, like if you're angry, you're stressed, you're scared, we stop breathing.
Yes.
Right?
Well, they say that in movies,
And
don't hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath.
Ooh.
Right? And you'll notice it even when you're like, I catch my husband doing it all the time where I'm like, you're not breathing. And he's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
and he'll be
I've seen the
doing
no breathing
something
Roger,
like,
yes.
I can't even tell you, but I notice it too. You're like, oh my God, I'm lifting this box and I'm not breathing. I'm not.
I whistle.
So you
I
don't
whistle.
hold your breath when you do stuff. Just start paying attention to when you're doing any activity. Just
My wife says, like,
clue
she'll
yourself
hear
in
me
if
and
you're
I'll go like
breathing.
this. I'll go. She'll go, breathe. I didn't know I wasn't breathing. What's wrong with people? So that's another part of it. But then back with the hydration and the nutrition. This is very important. I have to ask you this question. Does it have to be water? Isn't that interesting? Some people, and I know your grandfather.
Yeah.
I'm not a water guy.
No, I mean, let's say every single beverage is made up of water, right?
Thank you.
So you can partake in any beverage and start working on your hydration. Sure. But you want to pick beverages that, again, don't have a lot of sugar. Don't have a lot of dyes. Right?
We all do that. I look at a Coke and I go, oh, look, it's like 80% water. This is like health food. Forget everything else that's behind the curtain.
Yeah. So you can add things to your water. That helps.
Well, I don't know. I think this is a myth, but I hear everybody goes by these generic terms like, you got to have 8 glasses of water a day. If you're not having 8, wait, listen, all people are different. Maybe it's 30, maybe it's 2. I have no idea. But I want you to answer this question for me. We're going to be really serious about this right now. We're going to be very medical. When you're properly hydrated, like I used to coach, and when I coached soccer, you had to also go study training because you had to be a trainer, etc. When you're not properly hydrated, yellow pee, right? Bright yellow pee. Right?
Yes.
I've heard this.
Yes.
They go, listen, if you pee and it's really yellow, unless you just took a whole pack of vitamins, you are dehydrated. Oh, and they also say, because I used to cycle, and they go, if you get to that point, it's too late.
It is too late.
What does that
too
mean?
late.
It's too late to die? I have been on, like, running, not a problem, but cycling, where I've almost fainted. I didn't even realize, like, what's going on? I didn't get enough water. And this is so funny. You go out running, like, trying to lose weight. I started cycling, and people would stop, and they're having granola bars. It's like a picnic. I go, I'm trying to lose weight. They go, dude, you know how many calories you burn off cycling? You're going to want to bring a snack with you.
Right.
Now we have to have snacks?
Right. You need snacks, and you need to hydrate throughout your day to keep everything moving along and working right. And yes, the yellow pea you want
True,
a
right?
very pale, just a tint
Well,
of color.
well,
just a
You
tint.
said to me, you go, let's go to your doctor? I go, yeah. You go, blood test? Yeah. I go, what else? I go, urine test?
Yes. They're going to check them both because that's how we're going to know if your liver and your kidneys and your heart and everything's working right.
Yay. All right. So on this next to last section I want to talk about is we were discussing, well, listen, hardwood flooring people, and I've been doing this my whole life, and back when we worked our behinds off, and a lot of people got out because you made $1 a foot or whatever. You get paid really good now. Finally, people that are craftsmen are making really good money, and it's a good career for them. They just have to protect themselves, like you talked about, with respirators and things, etc. We're trying to figure out, can we offer advice so that floor pros, as the industrial athlete, can age well? And we looked at it and said, we did a section called Floor Pros and What Ails Them, and the editor of Wood Floor Business Magazine, Kim Walgren, went on and said, before you post your article, and then I want to do a little survey. So she did real life scenarios, and I'm going to go through them with you really quickly, and we'll just do quick takes. Like, I'll throw them at you. If you got nothing, you got nothing. If you think there's something that's there, throw at me what you got. But these are from people online, and like I said, wow, the response we got was amazing. We asked wood floor pros, and we made a list. Here's what the list that came back was. We found that these are the top things that people in our industry would say, not complain about, but reported. Back problems, knees, hearing, hands, shoulders, respiratory issues, mental health issues, and hips. And that seemed to sum up everything. So this gentleman, Kevin Daniel, happened to write, all joking aside, mental health and the work we do is very stressful. That's important, right? Does that ever come up in OT? Like, do you say, listen, tell me what you do?
Absolutely. First of all, occupational therapy, there's people in my industry that's all they do. I specialize in orthopedics and upper extremity, but they specialize in working with mental health and rehab centers and things like that. So that's the topic that they're, as OTs, are working on, having people's behavior function well, having their mind function well, having them be able to navigate through a day, making good choices, right? And being able to communicate with people. And so it's a big topic in occupational therapy, and it spans across all aspects of our profession. I know a lot of PTs and OTs don't like to touch on that topic, but I always feel like if you're not looking at somebody's overall well-being and mental fitness, mental fitness,
Absolutely.
You can call it that. I mean, it's not a stigma, like it is a part of all of us. And then you really aren't treating the whole person. And you're not going to be as successful with resolving their injury.
I took a course years ago for stress and depression and anxiety. You know what I found was, because I wanted to take on the world. I wanted to do everything. Right. I shot out of a cannon. I couldn't say no to anything. I would just work. And then you say, I have a mental health issue. Well, let's define that. What it is that you've now overdriven your mind, your body, and your brain. And ask people that have these, they'll say, I don't sleep. Oh, because you go to sleep and you dream you're working. And you wake up and all you can think of is working. So this Joseph Revord, I believe, or Revord, this really kind of stressed me out, man. He says his issue is brain function. He said using polyurethanes and alcohol-based finishes for years definitely can affect your brain. And he says, the stuff is deadly. People don't always pay attention to that. There's that bravado of, I can do anything. I worked with a guy recently that was all excited that he didn't wear a respirator, and we're using a heavy alcohol-based product. I bought a respirator to go in there. It's ridiculous. I once had a customer tell me he wasn't worried because he's done flooring for so long it coats his lungs and everything will be fine. 'Cause he literally said, it coats my lungs so I can never have a problem because now it's all been, and people think like this. But right, it's part of OT. Do you say, what do you got going? Any chemicals there? You got any things you're working with? Or are they...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And again, looking at somebody's environment, like when we have some OTs that go into actual factories and industries and look at the risk assessments of people's jobs, noise, chemicals, ventilation, those are big ones for making sure the industrial athlete is not being harmed on a daily basis with some of these things. And again, that's where like the wood flooring industry, as much as they can, has to start, looking at and putting labels on their products of the risks.
Everything we have is labeled to the tilt. It's people not paying attention.
Right.
Or
people
they just
not
don't
paying
care.
attention.
Everything's going to live forever.
People not wearing the respirators, wearing the headset, the ear protection, eye protection. But when you get back on that mental health piece, life is hard. We get curveballs thrown at us all the time, and a lot of stressors about, health and happiness, financial strains, you name it, traumas that, come up into the world. Nobody has a perfect life. And if they say they do, they're lying. Mm-hmm. But, so, again, going back to those things that really help people with their mental health and, again, talking to people, having a support system, maybe having your faith or a place to practice that. That's very important.
What's important to you is important.
Right.
That's your health.
Having several levels of support, not just family. It is such a need to talk to somebody. Let somebody know what's going on with you, even if it is, I have brain fog, or, something's not right. I can't focus on something, or, it can be as small as that, but address it. It could be something physical. It could be another stress in your life that you're just, our bodies protect, it's that fight or flight unconscious, function that we have as human beings to, repress things, put things way in the back of our minds, not address things. And those things start to build up and weigh on us and cause a lot of physical stress and mental stress, and add to then I'm supposed to go do an 8-hour, 10-hour job today, and my head's not in the right place. Yeah, and that's when an accident happens.
Yeah, and don't be breathing chemical. Listen, I sadly in my career, there are some people I really looked up to that do what I do, and I always say I want to be like them. They do a lot of consulting, a lot of technical work, and I know more than two that have passed away, that have outright said to me, it's the chemicals and being so young and bold as to thinking they weren't going to hurt me. Wood dust is a carcinogen. And I know that there was people that said, could I speak with you or write with you or podcast with you because my end is coming? And people I really admired and looked up to. And I look at these young guys today and you just point blank at them. Don't breathe the stuff, man. I am telling you right now, there will come a day where listen, do you want to run a few down and outs at the family picnic with grandkids? If you quit something today, let's say you're 40, 50, 60, like smoking, drinking, getting better at your exercising, think about the days you got coming up ahead. Grandkids that'll never see you smoke, family members that are proud to see you and share your life with you. So when you get that bravado, I can do anything. And this gentleman that came up, David Butler, who wrote the next one, he said, I'm a couple of stones heavier now. So I don't know, he's British. He says, I'm now down to 160 and all my knee and back problems disappeared. He said, no longer do any macho 2 bags at a time thing. I don't stuff and try to work a 5-hour shift. I keep these shifts tight as possible, and he takes time off. You have to at some point work smarter. Get rid of all that. Think smart. Really, are you going to be proud to tell somebody that you have lung cancer because, you breathed all this crap? The industry does go out of its way. The labels have been changed to say protect yourself. They say clearly wear a mask. By the way, what type of respirator, what type of mask, what type of cartridge. You don't wear a dust mask for polyurethane. You wear like a Type C carbon filter or cartridge. Remember through COVID, everybody's like, I saw a lady in my store with a bra on. She cut her Victoria's Secret bra. I go, that's not N19. I know. They made me study. That doesn't stop COVID. It's pretty. And it's kind of weird. But so I do like when people do take that time, like David Butler, to say, listen, I've learned not to be a macho maniac. Jeff Marlowe says he's seen it for his 20 years. He said carrying the machines and the flooring and 5-gallon buckets, which think about it. I can put a bucket or a bundle of wood on my shoulder, done it for years. It's not great, as you know. But, and I can help somebody carry a machine. But a 5-gallon pail, a 60-pound, 70-pound, bucket of something is at your side, swinging into your hip, or you got to put it in front of you and bend over. There's no good way to carry that stuff. And he says, first I got my left shoulder replaced. Then my lower lumbar fused. The last was a surgical fusion. And he said, I quit at 62, and now he's just turned 69. And he's saying, okay, I'm that guy that didn't learn the hard way.
Right. Right. And, like we said, using proper equipment, don't try to do it by yourself. Unload your truck with one or two people, and take your time and position yourself well, and don't rush through lifting, carrying, pushing, pulling. Be mindful of how you approach things.
This gentleman, Michael Shoots, said, my knees are sore now. Back in my 20s, I would install hardwood without knee pads, because he felt like his knees were cooler. His knees would get really hot. A lot of people complain about that. Plus, it was uncomfortable nailing the wood with them on. Now I always have a kneeling pad when I'm kneeling down. Plus, I have hearing loss from the machinery, mostly from background noise. And he said, I believe that's what it's from. I'm 45, and now I'm wearing hearing aids. Don't hear that often, but wow.
Right. And there's not a lot we can do for hearing once it's gone. And it's such an important sense, that we take for granted. And you just can't stress that enough, that, we need to protect our hearing. And it's silly for people not to wear hearing protection.
Ask anybody that go to big rock concerts or bands that were loud.
Right.
I love The Who, and Pete Townsend's one of my favorite artists and guitarists. And he said, we were so proud to be louder than a jet airplane, and now I'm deaf.
Right.
I get it. It's rock and roll, baby. But on the lines of that, Chris McElroy wrote in, kind of backing up what Michael Schutz was saying. He says, I got both of my knees replaced a couple of years ago. I cannot stress enough the importance of knee pads. I have plenty of sinus issues, but going to dustless systems help that, which we do have dust containment systems. I do know 18 years of putting a harsh type of a finish on flooring without using a respirator did not help. So I'm happy that these guys that made those mistakes are getting out there and saying, yeah, don't do what I did. It did not work out well. And it sounds like they have time to recover from, some of these things. Jeff Overton put, I've been in the game 43 years, and he said, I have normal issues for my age, but I'm still fit and active to do circuit training 4 or 5 times a week. I won't deny that my feet hurt from running the big sander, though. So again, another person that's, taking responsibility to get out there and be proactive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I am so impressed with these people writing in and, sharing their story with us today. Because the point is you just can't just go through life without taking care of yourself.
Yeah, Angelo DeSanto, he's one of the writers for Wood Floor Business Magazine. I've done a podcast with him. He's a super sharp guy. I like him. He took time to write in, and he said, I'm in it for the long haul, so I take care of my tools by not... Good point. Not my floor machine, not my edger, not my hand tool, my tool, his body. He says, by not lifting the big machine by myself.
Yes.
For example, he said, wearing knee pads, dust mask, eye protection, and the basic armor that extends our service life. I love that. The basic armor that extends our service life. Yeah.
It is. It should be your uniform.
I know. If we had hardwood flooring uniforms and put stuff in.
Fancy stuff on it. You'd be like, here I am.
What up? We could wear like 3 digits instead of 2. It would be kind of cool. But I do like you said, that I was so amazed how many people, it was such a big turnaround. Sure, I got something to say. Jump right in. So Jason Vivage says, obviously eating well and regular stretching and exercise help our bodies handle the stressors. Genetics, he feels, definitely plays a big part in how our bodies react to the physical and environmental dust and chemicals stress of being an installer, sander, finisher. Again, perfectly aware that he's looking at it all and saying, okay, there's also a genetics. And that can be in all sorts of things. There are people that have a genetic predisposition for addictions, like alcohol addiction or drug, etc. Yeah. And it used to be just to go hide in a corner somewhere, you must be the problem in the family, and look at it and go, this does exist genetically. Maybe I ought to keep an eye on it. I think that's pretty bright of him to, keep an eye on that. This gentleman, David Schultz, says, I started at 18. Developed bad knees by 24 or 25, some type of arthritis and worn cartilage that flares up when things are busy. Young people. Do you see a lot of young people when it comes to that type of physical contractor type injuries?
I mean, it's all over the map. It just really depends on the person, and again, it's always looking at, everybody's different, and sometimes it could be their posture, sometimes it could be ergonomics, sometimes it could be their technique, and sometimes, it could just be, the luck of their genetics, right? And sometimes they might have a underlying medical condition that, really doesn't serve them well to do a labor-intensive job.
Well, when we're going through each of these, and a lot of them have similar answers to a lot of different things, I thought it was interesting. I want to ask about this one just because this gentleman brings it up and you hear it all the time. Alex Franklin says, I've blown out disc in my lower back that's pushing on my sciatic nerve because of all the bending over the edge. Now, over the years, and I'll get this wrong, I've heard people say, I've damaged my sciatic nerve, or I have a sciatic problem. And then I hear them say, I have sciatica. What are they? Am I getting that wrong? What's the terminology? And people are really in pain when they have this situation. What is this?
It's a form of nerve impingement in the lower body, right? So they're pinching on their sciatic nerve somewhere in through their lower back or their hips. And they get referred pain that goes down their legs. And that is what sciatica is.
It's funny because I'll just read this to you. So Alberto Salinas said, he says it's heart and mental health is what he's had some issues with, because he says you have so much time in between coats. He goes, you tend to go out and you eat, he says, steak and lobster and things that are terrible and that are cholesterol filled, and life is so stressful, and those things seem to be kind of soothing. And this is kind of a joke. He goes, nobody ever walked on an electrician's fresh wires. And he's right. When you're in flooring and all this, and you're a craftsman and you're coating someone's entire house. And I've had a dog and a cat bust the door open and slide across the floor. Or people go, I had to go in last night because you left the lights on. And you can see their footprint. It says Nike, 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 swoosh, 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 all over the floor. It is stressful. You're trying to do this work and you're not working in a vacuum chamber. And, I'll say this. Flooring people are always asked, or they get at the job and they say the furniture wasn't moved. You can't do that. They're not trained for that. And I used to say to people, my guys hurt their back. They're not going to get unemployment. They're not going to get medical benefits. Not got no HMO. Might not be able to go to a med stop. But moving your sofa just knocked them out of a career. And my dad ran a moving company for 70 years, and he came to work for me at the very end. And a lady said, we need them to move the furniture. And my father said, my company moved furniture for 70 years. We never said, while we're there, we'll sand your floors. My kid ain't moving your furniture. And I'm like, yay, Dad. But, stick to the script. Don't be doing things that you shouldn't be doing, like lifting things you shouldn't be lifting. Go get help, right? Anything, right. Chunk it down like you were saying.
Well, go get help, but also, sometimes we're so involved in your craft, in your job, right, that you forget that you're talking to a person that has no idea what your job entails, your client, right? And a lot of it is communication. and I would say that there's faults on both sides, on the client side and the person providing the hardwood floor service, right? And I think clear communication and expectations so you're setting yourself up for success, right? And again, I'm sure everybody in the industry can say, I told those people, it's written down. We do not move furniture. You need to clean the whole area out, and we are going to be in that area for I don't know how many days to do the floor.
Like 3.
Right? But there's that but you know what? Communication is so... People's attention span is terrible.
Yeah.
I have to just add this little adjunct.
Okay.
I took my son to his college orientation. He's going to college in the fall. And we, from his college, got multiple emails about the 5 things that needed to be done before orientation.
Yeah, you got the email.
Right. And I got the email, my son got the email, but there was 5 things that needed to be done. And it was things like take the math assessment test and sign up and do your ID card and, all the things that you do to get ready to go to college. And we get to this orientation, and I would say 50% of the group of maybe 300 people didn't have those 5 things done.
Wow.
And had questions about those 5 things and how are they going to get these 5 things done and all of that. And I was like, wow, you didn't read the email? Not maybe once or twice, or maybe had a conversation with your son or daughter to get this done.
They didn't bring it up to you.
Right? And then I understood why the orientation needed to be 8 hours long.
And why the parents have to be there.
Because the college is like, okay, these people are not going to get these 5 things done. They're already anticipating it, right?
Right.
And so they've already set it up where, okay, we're going to send you emails. We're going to blast you with this. We're going to, but then we know that we're going to still have to get these 5 things done for half of the population at this orientation today because nobody does what you say to do. So, to tell your client to move furniture and we really are going to need this space and you have to stay out of this space for 5 days, you have to constantly communicate that in many ways for people to really get that in. But it's important to because you're saving your efficiency and time, and you're, one less thing that your employees and your staff shouldn't be doing anyway.
Right, and I get it. They go in, this happens to us all the time. You go to the job site, and it's full, and you're like, I have my crew here. It's the only money we're going to make this week, and we got a choice. Bitch about it, or move the damn furniture, and maybe call the person and say, we're going to charge you for this, and you have to put it back.
Right.
Or we don't have any work, but they just threw our whole schedule off. So, I do understand that part of it. What we're going to do is we're going to go into a quick wrap-up mode, where I just got some stuff that I want to wrap up from all that we talked about in the magazine article and throughout the podcast. Get your thoughts on them, and then we're going to move into the quick fire section. So one of the things in wrap-up is we're often talking about I think what this whole thing that we've spoken about with PT and OT and training and the body mechanics is this the body's ability for generally to stretch and repair? That's the focus, is how do our muscles stretch and how do they repair?
Right. Well, it's a natural part of using your body, right? You work your muscles, you use your body. You put a level of strain on them. You get good sleep at night. You drink water. You feed your muscles with good nutrition. And you allow recovery time. And then you're building your body. You're preparing your body to do it all over again the next day. But, that's the perfect solution.
Well, you had looked at my shoulder. This goes back to a point you made way earlier. You said, hey, your shoulder's very, very strong. Oh, good. You go, no, it's tight as piano wire. You said it earlier. There are muscles that are healthy, but they're tight. And What do you mean? You go, look in the mirror. And you go, your right shoulder is 2 inches higher than, I don't know. I just wake up and go do my thing. You're like, your right shoulder is 2 inches higher. Like, what the hell does that mean? What do you see when you see somebody and you say, God, your muscles. You said I couldn't even bend my neck back properly.
Right. Well, you want the body to have symmetry, right? So you want to make sure that your posture is in good alignment. Your muscles are strong, but also flexible. That your joints are functioning well. We're always looking for, like we talked about, going up and down the chain. Like, what really is the source of your pain? Is it tightness? Is it weakness? Is it instability? Like, sometimes people are too loose and loosey-goosey in their joints, and that so they need more strength and stability. Other people are super, super tight. and they need more flexibility.
How about age? Do you think, is it if actually that in general there are minerals and fluids as we get older that just aren't as abundant? I think you at one point said to me, you might have to have supplements like potassium and sodium.
Well,
does it change with age?
As we age, we don't retain minerals, vitamins and minerals as well as we did in our 20s. And we don't produce certain nutrients as well as we did as you're younger.
Sure.
But also, our muscle tissues aren't as flexible and our ligaments aren't as flexible as we were when you're younger.
How do you make that okay, let's say that
our cartilage breaks down. Everything about our tissues is, not as, I think it's...
What are the adjustments? Is it your diet? Is it taking supplements? What's the adjustment? Let's say there's things I'm missing. It can take a men's health vitamin. Is that actually going to do anything, or do you what's the proper course there? Are vitamins a good thing, or they used to say take a 50 milligram aspirin every day? And I was saying don't
vitamins
take
can
one.
Be a great thing, but the thing of it is it's a $1 billion industry, right? And it's not regulated, so you just want to make sure that you're getting your vitamins from a good source. And then this goes back to, nutrition and health is not a one-size-fits-all. And that's why a major part of taking care of yourself is going for yearly checkups, checking in with your healthcare professionals and saying, hey, how am I doing? Am I okay? What am I missing? What do I need to do? What do I need to eat? What do I need? How do I need to exercise? Am I getting good sleep? What are the things that you're seeing through my blood work and my overall physicals that are indicators that, that's leading down a path that isn't really great for you? And, I can't sit there and say, I've got the magic pill that's going to help you do everything great. But the point is you've got to start taking care of yourself. Sure. Nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to do it.
I saw it was a little interview, little podcast type of a thing with a gentleman. He owns a porta potty business, and it was funny because he said, "You know the number one thing we pull out of porta potties?" I go, "I don't want to know the number one things." He goes, "No, let me show you. Go take you in the warehouse." In the warehouse, he had this giant vat of pristine looking vitamins. You could read the name of the vitamin on the vitamin. He goes, "You know how many people take these things? They don't even process them." Mm-hmm. Some people don't even know they're taking a $15 vitamin that goes right out the back end. Doesn't even work for them. So, like you said, do your research. Find out. You'll know if you're feeling better. Right. But where do you get a reasonable diagnosis that would say, you need a little more potassium, or I always wing it. It says, here in New England, we don't get enough vitamin D, so I take vitamin D. And then I take a men's multi just to cover my behind. And then they say, well, at your age, you should take 12, B12. How? It's individualistic, isn't it?
Right. But the thing of it is you and I are having this conversation. These are all the questions you should be having once a year with your primary care physician.
When you advocate, sure.
Right? And they're going to tell you. They've got lots of ways. And really, they're like the gateway to be like, okay, I might not be able to be the solution for you, but we're going to run these tests, and then we're going to get you to the medical professional that can help you for your issues. But you got to start there. You got to start somewhere, and you have to be actively involved. And the thing that you've got to start to do when you are in front of your primary care is to be a part of the conversation. Ask questions. Hey, how is my vitamin D levels? Oh, I don't know. Let's check it. Let's run that test. Are there any other vitamin deficiencies that I might have?
Sure.
You can run a test for all of it. But again, if you don't be communicating some of your concerns or your symptoms or the things that you're having, your healthcare professional is not going to be able to pick up on that. It's not like we can, see through your body and be like, I know exactly what's wrong with you. You've got to have that exchange, and you've got to be honest and open and be real about, are you smoking? Oh, well, I'm only smoking, when you're really smoking a full pack a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or when they ask you the question, how many, do you drink alcohol? And you go, no, not at all.
No,
But,
Saturday.
Right? Exactly.
All day Saturday. And 72 in
be
little
honest
glasses.
about that. Yeah. They're trying to help you.
Well, I think we hear that a lot about advocate. And they're right. Like when I had elderly parents, we had to advocate for them. And then you realize, I got to advocate for myself. Be aware of these things. You don't want to go to your doctor in any capacity because it's so commercialized and waste. They don't like the time wasted, so you can't just drone on and on. So advocate for yourself. Get to the point. Tell them about yourself. Follow up. I found I have to follow up.
You do have to follow up.
Offices are like, he's done. He's out of here. Next.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, and I'm going to see you in a year.
Right.
I hope I do well. I'm going to play Jennifer for a minute because I'm going to speed through this section for you because this is what I've learned from you. Because you're a pretty smart kid. Throughout the writing that we did together, the talks we've done together, and the podcast we've done, in summation, you've explained to us that with your heart health, your brain health, weight loss, decreasing pain and inflammation, recovering from injuries, that there's a few things that I found that really I just wrote down that you nailed. One is improving your sleep, decreasing stress, hydrate properly, exercise, and decrease sugar from your diet. And to sum it up nutritionally, you said, like anybody would say, and you hear this all the time, vegetables, fruits, lean meats, nuts, decreased packaged foods, processed foods, alcohol, and fast foods. And that's just teeing you up for your final question before the quick fire is, because I called you on this 3 times. I texted you on it 4 times. I didn't think it was going to be any math on the final. You said read food labels and this is what you said. Focus on decreasing your sugar to 12 to 20 grams a day. And I'm like, hey, don't shoot the messenger, but what you mean? I go, so like if you're eating 1,000 milligrams, take 12 off. You go, no, I said 12 to 20 grams a day. What? That's what you're saying, right? 12 to 20?
It's hard.
I eat my fingernails as 20.
Again, like when you do a deep dive on this subject, the research is really coming out that we don't need to eat a lot of sugar. We do not need to function on a lot of sugar. And really, for our body to function well, all you need is 12 to 20 grams a day.
Okay.
Right? And yes, you're probably going to get more to that. But when you start to just read the labels and you realize how much sugar you're actually getting, and yes, you got to count the salad dressing, and the yogurt is a horrible, it's hard to find a yogurt that doesn't have 28 grams of sugar in it.
It sounds like a miracle cure, but it's practically
You're like,
ice cream.
I'm not eating that. That's all the sugar for the whole day. But when you just become more aware of how much sugar, you're already on the right path. So I'm not asking you to get rid of all your sugar. It's hard. I don't do it. We just had donuts today.
I put whipped cream and the colored sprinkles on my yogurt.
But the more you can be aware of just how much sugar is in everything we eat.
Like baby steps, right?
Baby steps.
Baby step.
Baby steps is better than nothing.
I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up on your quick fire questions because we've had a lot of fun, so this will be good. And you know what, for people that read Wood Floor Business Online or the hard copy, et cetera, Jennifer and I've been really excited because not only were we interested in seeing if maybe we could do a little something to help people get back, and I need somebody with your background, but when we threw the preliminaries out there, everybody jumped on. Everybody was really happy to say thank you for taking the time about talking about my health. Let's get at it.
Well, you know what, it's nice to be able to help people and have a broader base. Like, you don't have to come see me as a client to get some of this basic information out there. But most of my clients are always like, oh my God, you should do a podcast. You should be on the radio because the information you have is just so helpful and you're able to explain it in a way that I can understand. And I'm happy to do it. I just want to, be that person to help other people.
Yeah, and you're all over it. So now you have to suffer my quick fire questions and I'm going to let you escape. But I will go through these. I want you to answer them as quickly as possible. And here's what we got for you. Are you ready for your first question?
All right. I hope.
If you were an occupational therapist, what would you prefer to be doing?
I don't know.
Wrong answer. So lazy.
Oh. You know, I always wanted to do something in the entertainment industry, but always thought like, oh my God, that just would be so hard.
Listen, pretty woman, do you have a goal?
Right?
I always wanted to be an ice dancer. Okay. So if they made the Lifetime movie about Jennifer Hale, what actor plays you?
Who is the actor that is in Modern Family? The mom.
Julie Bowen.
Yes.
I totally see it. She's in
Yes.
Happy Gilmore, and then
Yes.
she's in Modern Family.
Yeah.
I see it. And I've known you for years, so I always say, for people that know Benny and June with Johnny Depp and Mary Stuart Masterson, I were spitting image growing up.
Yeah, it would be between those two.
She's awesome. So next one, because listen, you're part of the flooring world now, so I'm going to throw this crap at you. At your house, down there in Virginia, do you have any carpet or vinyl in your home?
No, I've gotten rid of most of all of my carpet except for on one set of stairs. And that's because my kids have asthma and I have dogs. And so I hate carpet. So I have, what was it, hand scraped? What did we put upstairs?
You have hand scraped plank hickory.
Yes.
I really know the answer because you always say, can you fly down here and come on down and do some flooring? And it's cool because it gives me an excuse to go to, I love it. I absolutely love it down there. So, okay. So listen, I've seen it. You got wood everywhere and I'm loving it. Little tile where it needs to be.
Right.
In the OT.
High traffic areas.
The OT
Tile.
gig. Do they say gig? Like, I got an OT gig. Do people say, oh, OT, I got an OT gal.
What? I don't even understand
everybody
that
has
question.
like a
What are you
mechanic.
talking
They go,
about?
I got a carburetor guy. And people go, don't go anywhere. Talk to Jen. I gotta do it. So when you're in OT, what's your biggest pet peeve? We ask people in flooring and they say all sorts of things. What is it in your occupation that you or others is just a pet peeve? It's just really ticks you off.
I don't think it really ticks me off, but we all chuckle about it and just kind of do the eye roll. But, you know, of course, in the medical industry and probably in your industry too, they're like, well, I looked my diagnosis up on YouTube or Google and I think this is what I need. And you just go, okay.
Jennifer Hale, occupational therapist, and one of my favorite people in the world. You know I love you. This is great. I'm so happy we had you. And we're going to have, we'll do this. We don't usually say to people, why don't you come on again? Now we're going to do this. Kim, you listen to me. We got to have Jen back on. People are going to love her.
Let us know what your topics are.
Don't
let
forget,
us know what you're talking
Don't
about.
forget America.
Topics are, and
After
we'll be there.
200 years, this is the professional that said we are athletes. Athletes in training.
Industrial athletes.
I'm going to get a uniform.
I've been working with you guys for years.
I want to challenge the first company out there, no, it's going to be Matt Garcia, to get uniforms for their people. And I want numbers. And if you're really good like Lenny Hall, we'll retire your number over the rafters.
And then it's like, you know, I had the, like, I don't know, Patriots of wood flooring, right?
Exactly. My floors were done by the Super Bowl champions of hardwood
Wood flooring, exactly.
We're bringing the sexy back, Jen. All right, we're good. Now go away. You're bothering me. We will talk again sometime. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was fun.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of All Things Wood Floor. If you'd like to read more advice from Jennifer about how wood flooring pros can prevent injuries and work without pain, check out her article in the August-September 2024 issue of Wood Floor Business. If you don't get your own copy in the mail, you can find the article at woodfloorbusiness.com. While you're there, make sure you sign up to get your own free subscription to Wood Floor Business. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to All Things Wood Floor.